The story begins with its cover, a haunting image of a baseball player with blood-red eyes and a blood-splattered uniform. This single shot sets a dark, intense tone, hinting that this is no ordinary sports manga. On a certain day, the final of the National High School Baseball Championship at Koshien took place between Hakugakuen and Seishu High School. It was a fierce, 45-inning battle that spanned 3 days, a legendary tale that would be retold for 100 years. The home plate umpire, Norioki Takoda, would later recall, "I'd never seen such a look in someone's eyes before." The story, titled Shikyuuji, meaning Death Baseball, immediately introduces its 2 central figures locked in a destined confrontation. One, a pitcher, stares down his opponent with a bloody face. The other, a batter, swings with a desperate intensity that seems to go beyond the sport itself. The tagline reads, "For high school baseball players, there is no tomorrow." Rain pours down on Koshien Stadium. It's the final of the National High School Baseball Championship, and the stadium is wrapped in a level of intensity never seen before. And it's no wonder. The crowd is roaring for the undisputed champions, Hakugakuen, who are aiming for an unprecedented 4th straight title. Facing them is Seishu High, a completely unknown dark horse, making their first ever appearance and chasing their first ever victory. The game, which began as a pitcher's duel between the 2 aces, has now reached the 45th inning, and they are nearing the end of the 3rd straight day of play. The first and second days went the full 15 innings each without a winner. And now, on this 3rd day, the battle continues under the relentless rain. We've reached the bottom of the 45th inning. Seishu is pressing hard against Hakugakuen's ace, Satoru Soto. There are 2 outs, and the bases are loaded. Just when it seemed the final was coming to an end, at bat is Seishu High's own ace, Yudai Amaji. But then, a sudden downpour strikes the stadium, and the game is now suspended. Is it the work of the demon said to dwell in Koshien, or is it a prank played by the baseball gods? As the crowd groans, the scene shifts to Haku's bench. In the dugout sits Hakugakuen's 3rd-year ace, jersey number 1, Satoru Soto. He's covered by a towel, his body steaming, and his eyes burn with an inhuman intensity. Nearby, the team's 3rd-year manager, Hinano Suzumiya, watches him with a face full of worry and dread. Hinano knows the truth. Satoru has thrown over 1,000 pitches in this tournament alone. He's been throwing breaking balls non-stop since middle school. After pitching game after game, his shoulder is completely wrecked. She's watched him all this time, so she knows. She rushes towards the coach, pleading with him. "The captain can't. We should let Saito-kun start to warm up. If he throws any more, he will." But she's cut short. Something falls to the ground. Hinano walks away from the coach's room, dejected. But in the background, Satoru Soto grins with a bloody mouth as a broken tooth lies on the floor. His teammates can only stare in disbelief. In a gruesome display, Satoru pulls back his lip to reveal shattered teeth, forcing them back into place. "Finally, it moved," he says, a crazed look in his eyes. Hinano turns back, her face a mask of pure horror. Satoru begins a macabre ritual, seemingly using a sharp object to pierce the skin on his hand. His thoughts are clear: now I can have this final showdown with Yudai-kun. No one else is stepping foot on the mound. With blood dripping from his mouth and his eyes glowing with an eerie light, he declares, "I've never felt more alive than I do right now." The scene then shifts, taking us over to Seishu's bench. Inside the men's restroom, the sounds of retching echo. The sink is splattered with a dark, viscous liquid, blood. Staring into the mirror is Seishu High School's 3rd-year ace, also wearing jersey number 1, Yudai Amaji. His face is pale and smeared with blood, but his eyes are just as intense, just as monstrous as his rivals. As he leaves the restroom, he's met by Seishu High's 3rd-year manager, Hana Amono. She calls out his name with concern. She asks if he needs medicine, telling him he's done more than enough. "You can't even see properly anymore, can you? If you keep going, you'll really die." She turns to leave, threatening to tell the umpire to stop him. In a sudden, violent movement, Yudai grabs her arm and slams her against the wall. Tears well up in Hana's eyes as Yudai leans in, his voice cold and resolute. This isn't just some match. It's a battle to the death. Even if my limbs fall off. Even if my guts fall out. I won't back down. His eyes burn with a terrifying resolve as he reveals his ultimate goal in a chilling whisper, not until I use these hands to kill Satoru Soto's baseball. He releases his grip, turning his back on a stunned Hana. Framed by the light of the stadium entrance, he walks away. Don't worry, he calls back, his voice disturbingly calm. I just puked everything out, so, I'm in peak condition right now, he declares, ready to return to the field and end this battle once and for all. The rain subsides, and both teams watch from their respective dugouts, the air thick with anticipation for the game's resumption. The sun breaks through the clouds, its light shining down on the stadium as if setting the stage for the final act. The announcement comes, field maintenance is complete. Both teams are emerging from the dugouts. The game is finally resuming from the bottom of the 45th inning with 2 outs and bases loaded. The crowd and the school band erupt in a cacophony of cheers and music. Here they are, the crowd roars. On opposite sides, the two rivals, Satoru and Yudai, both spit, clearing their mouths and their minds for the battle ahead. First, the pitcher. His Koshien career stats across summer and spring are legendary. 3 consecutive championships. He was the winning pitcher for 3 straight years. His numbers are almost unbelievable, 13 home runs, a .736 batting average, an ERA of 0.72 with only 16 earned runs, and a record of 21 wins and only 1 loss. He is the monster, Satoru Soto. And his opponent, the batter. His Koshien career stats for his senior year summer alone are flawless, 5 wins and 0 losses. He holds tournament records across the board, a max velocity of 166 km per hour, 85 strikeouts, 21 consecutive scoreless innings, 2 consecutive perfect games, a batting average of .792, and 7 home runs in a single tournament. He is the son of God, Yudai Amaji. The crowd buzzes, recounting the unbelievable events they've witnessed. Last inning, Satoru Soto launched Yudai Amaji's 166 km per hour fastball into the stands, finally putting a run on the board. Man, a home run after 46 pitches. That showdown gave me chills. The ultimate question hangs in the air. Will the great ace of Koshien, Satoru, shut it down here and achieve an unprecedented 4th consecutive championship? Or will the man blessed by the baseball gods, Yudai, who once walked away from the game, turn everything around? Hard work, or raw talent? The rivalry that started in middle school will finally be settled here, on the hallowed grounds of Koshien. This moment is the culmination of countless pressures and sacrifices, the roar of the crowd, the expectations of professionals, the memory of the departed, the pain of pushing one's body past its limits, and the long road traveled since childhood. As Yudai steps up to the plate, he seems to give off an otherworldly aura, his body radiating a ghostly energy as if he's burning his very life force for this single at-bat. The umpire stares in disbelief. Whoa, what the hell is with that flawless stance? This guy's thrown over 1,000 pitches in this tournament, hasn't he? From the pitcher's mound, Satoru Soto watches his rival. A slow, unsettling grin spreads across his blooded face. Even the umpire is shocked by the sheer madness in his eyes. What's this? Satoru does the unthinkable. He calmly stretches out his right hand, clearly showing everyone in the stadium the grip for a forkball. He's telling the batter exactly what pitch is coming. The two aces lock eyes. Yudai, enraged by the audacity. Satoru, bleeding and grinning like a madman. What on earth does this mean? The pitcher's hand in his glove, ready to throw. The batter's hands gripping the bat, ready to swing. The final, decisive moment is here. In this moment, it's as if the entire world has faded away, leaving only the two of them, pitcher and batter, locked in a solitary duel that will define their very existence. Out of 3,452 schools, out of over 140,000 players who dreamed of this stage, only these two remain, standing atop the remains of all the fallen. This isn't pro baseball. This isn't the major leagues. There are no rotation schedules, no thought for their futures, no concern for their careers. In this all-out battle, not even their lives are spared. Here, at Koshien, under the watchful eyes of a captivated nation, a piece of baseball history is reaching its end. And on that day, in that place, every single person present was abnormal. Though battered and broken, the umpire knew those two should have been stopped. Yet the massive crowd held its breath and simply watched. As fellow lovers of the game, they wanted to witness the end of this battle between two true ballplayers. They all knew it. There's an old saying, a flame burns the brightest just before it goes out. The next pitch, the next swing, will be the greatest moment of their baseball careers. Here comes Satoru Soto. He lifts his leg with explosive force. From his uniquely flexible form, the pitch of destiny is unleashed. And then the scene cuts. 6 years ago. The past. A young pitcher throws a final, powerful pitch. Strike. Batter out. Game set. He is a 6th grader for the Hakuyu Fighters, wearing jersey number 1. The Prodigy, Yudai Amaji. A crowd of young girls cheers for him, including a 6th grade Hinano Suzumiya. Nice pitch, Yudai. Awesome. A perfect game. Way to go, Yudai. The scoreboard shows a decisive 6-0 victory for the Hakuyu Fighters. As his teammates tell him it's time to line up, a young Satoru is still on his knees, staring from the dugout, utterly captivated. The contrast is stark. The effortlessly cool Prodigy, Yudai, basks in the adoration. And Satoru, head bowed and sweating, is completely overwhelmed, marking the moment his obsession began. Later, in an interview during his 3rd year of high school, Amaji commented on his fierce battle with Satoru Soto, "I don't remember a thing about it." And with that cold, dismissive statement, the first act of their story comes to a close. First death end. The air is filled with cheers for a player named Yudai. On the field, his teammates discuss the rumors surrounding him. He's the son of the former ace of the Japan national team, Yuichiro Amaji, and he just pitched a perfect game, though some question the quality of the opponent. In the batter's box, a player named Isono is determined to shatter the rumors and the cheers. Meanwhile, a player with number 1 on his back, Yudai Amaji, takes the field, feeling that the hype surrounding him has gotten out of hand. With a ferocious swing, a pitch flies past the batter, leaving him utterly stunned and exclaiming in disbelief. Yudai Amaji unleashes a powerful pitch. The opposing team's dugout can only watch in shock as the umpire calls a strike. They're left wondering what that incredible pitch even was. A close-up on Yudai Amaji's face reveals his intense focus and determination. An opponent, completely overwhelmed, can only think to himself, "He's a monster." The title of the series is displayed above the final scoreboard. The Hakuyu Fighters have crushed the Lions with a score of 6-0, a testament to their pitcher's perfect game. As the team heads for the bus, Yudai's teammates can't stop praising his performance. It's his 2nd perfect game in a row, and they remark that he's become like a monster recently. The outfielders, however, complain that they're bored from the lack of action. Despite the praise, Yudai is intensely self-critical. He quietly laments that his 12 pitches were all over the plate and floated up, a performance he deems unacceptable. His teammates are shocked at his impossibly high standards. Yudai continues his internal critique, thinking that if he were facing professional players, they would have easily scored 12 runs off his pitches. He concludes that he still has so much more work to do. Yudai turns to his coach and simply says his name, signaling his departure, leaving his teammates speechless. He informs his coach that he'll be running home again. His teammates are incredulous, noting that it's over 10 kilometers away and he just pitched 2 full games. As Yudai stoops to tie his shoes, his teammates reflect on his status as a junior of a famous player. They recognize the insane pressure he must be under and feel that he lives in a different world from them. As Yudai begins his solitary run, he passes a group of students excitedly chattering about going home to play video games. The contrast highlights his isolated dedication. Kyuuji clenches his fist, his expression hardening. He thinks to himself that he's not like those other guys. He is different. He is Kyuuji Amagi, a genius. The scene flashes back to his childhood. From as far back as he can remember, not a single day went by without private training with his father. At birth, he didn't receive a toy, he was given a bat and a glove. The fruits of his labor are shown in a room full of trophies. When he joined the Little League in 5th grade, he was immediately made the ace pitcher and led his team to back-to-back undefeated national championships. His name, Kyuuji Amagi, quickly became famous. The narration explains the root of his incredible drive. Raised by a professional baseball player, Kyuuji's respect for his father, Yuichiro Amagi, grew into something closer to worship. There is only one reason Kyuuji Amagi plays baseball: to become the best player in the world, someone his father will finally recognize. Back in the present, he continues his grueling run, checking his heart rate and time on his watch. Suddenly, a boy with a shaved head and a determined expression runs up beside him, eager to join in. "All right. Let's do this," he exclaims. Kyuuji is taken aback and annoyed by the sudden intrusion, asking who the boy is. The cheerful boy introduces himself with a bright smile, "I'm Satoru Soto." Satoru Soto cheerfully explains the specific kanji and hiragana of his name, but Kyuuji is completely uninterested, sweating and thinking to himself that he doesn't have time for this. Satoru reveals that he struck out against Kyuuji earlier and asked their coach how he could become more like him. The coach's bizarre advice was to boil his fingernail dirt and drink it. He then earnestly asks Kyuuji for his permission, leaving Kyuuji utterly bewildered. Ignoring the strange request, Kyuuji picks up his pace, focused only on his run. He glances at his watch, determined to break the 30-minute mark today. But Satoru Soto isn't giving up. He impressively keeps pace with Kyuuji and shouts a question at him as they run side by side: "Why did you start playing baseball, Kyuuji-kun?" The sudden question hangs in the air. The question seems to strike a chord. Startled, Kyuuji gives a simple, heartfelt answer without breaking stride: "For me, it was my father." And with that single revealing statement, he accelerates, his feet a blur as he pulls away, leaving the equally shocked Satoru behind. Left in the dust, Satoru Soto can only watch as Kyuuji Amagi disappears into the distance, a small, fleeting figure. Kyuuji continues his punishing run, panting as he passes under an overpass, pushing himself through the city streets as dusk settles. He checks his watch. He pushed harder than usual and is confident he left Soto far behind. Feeling he still has energy to spare, he decides he'll go pitch for a while. Kyuuji arrives at a desolate, fenced-in practice ground, ready for his solo training session. But to his utter shock, he's not alone. Satoru Soto is already there, waiting for him. Kyuuji is speechless, wondering how this guy possibly caught up to him. Satoru, sweating but with a manic intensity in his eyes, eagerly volunteers to be the batter, insisting it will make for better practice. Kyuuji reluctantly agrees. "Just one pitch," he states, his expression hardening as he prepares to throw, not minding the challenge. Even in elementary school, Kyuuji's max pitch speed was a staggering 132 km per hour. A speed comparable to a high-speed train, it easily shattered all records for his age group. The force of the pitch is immense. The metal bat is violently ripped from Satoru's hands as he collapses to the ground, completely overwhelmed and groaning in pain. Not again. Kyuuji thinks, watching the familiar scene unfold. Another challenger lies defeated on the ground, whimpering. He's seen it time and time again. They recklessly challenge him to a match, then get recklessly discouraged, and in the end, they look at him with fear, as if he's some kind of demon. Kyuuji finds it annoying being treated like the villain. He thinks to himself that if someone is just going to cry, they shouldn't have challenged him in the first place. But Satoru's reaction is different. He's on the ground, tears and saliva streaming down his face, but it's not a cry of despair. It's a gasp of pure, unadulterated ecstasy. Kyuuji is completely bewildered by this strange reaction. What the hell? he thinks, looking back at the bizarre scene. That's disgusting. And with that, he turns and walks away, leaving Satoru behind. Yudai finally arrives home, wiping the grime from his face. The nameplate on the mailbox clearly reads Tamaji. His father is waiting for him. "Father!" Yudai calls out. An imposing man with a stern expression, his father, Yuichiro Amaji, takes off his sunglasses, his gaze cold and analytical. Yudai asks hopefully if his father watched the game. Yuichiro confirms he heard it was another perfect game and curtly replies, "Yeah," admitting he was watching. But his father's praise never comes. Instead, he delivers a single, crushing verdict that leaves Yudai stunned: "Your pitching was boring." Yuichiro continues with a bizarre and intense lecture. "Have you ever experienced an orgasm on the mound?" he asks his stunned son. "Felt a pleasure so intense it makes your penis rise up?" He tells Yudai to get more fired up, to immerse himself in ecstasy with every single pitch. As he walks towards the door, Yuichiro delivers his final, chilling piece of philosophy: those with that kind of passion are the ones who survive in the world of competition. "We're starting practice now," Yuichiro commands from the doorway. Standing at the bottom of the stairs, a dejected Yudai can only reply with a quiet, submissive, "Yes, sir." Back at the practice field, Satoru is alone. He looks down at his pants, a large cockroach flying by unnoticed. He thinks to himself in awe, Yudai-kun's pitch was amazing. Tears of joy stream down his face as he relives the moment. The impact felt so good. He touches his trembling hand, realizing the sensation is exactly what he thought it would be. He stares at his hand, now a symbol of his newfound purpose. The pain and shock are gone, replaced by the spark of a dangerous obsession. A single thought consumes him: "I wonder how good it'll feel if I hit it." Thus, the fateful meeting between Yudai Amaji and Satoru Soto sets the stage. This is not a gentle coming-of-age story, nor a cliched tale of friendship. It is a brutal, desperate battle for each to prove their very existence. They are sharpening their blades and honing their fangs. For them, it is a fight to the death, solely to deny the existence of the other. The story continues with its third part, titled "A Monster." The scene opens at a local batting center, where a ball smashes into the home run target with incredible force. Inside the batting cage, a pitch clocks in at 140 km/h. Onlookers are amazed, noting that the batter has hit it again, and in fact, hits it every single time. They can't help but admire his skill. The prodigious batter is none other than the monster, Yudai Amaji, the boy who carried his team to 2 consecutive national championships with his overwhelming talent. Yudai casually blows a bubble with his gum, thinking not bad, after hitting a pop fly. Unbeknownst to him, Satoru Soto watches from a distance, observing his every move. Still in the cage, Yudai wonders why the session isn't over yet, as every pitch he's faced has been a home run. He relentlessly presses the button to continue. The batting center staff fawns over Yudai, calling him amazing. However, one of them notices Satoru lurking and asks what he's doing, shouting encouragement that seems to fall on deaf ears. The staff members recognize Satoru as the kid from the Lions, the team they played the other day. They remember him as the one who was bawling his eyes out after striking out against Yudai, who looks on with an expression of pure amazement. One of the staff members scoffs, wondering why Satoru is even hanging around. He dismisses him, saying it's not like he could ever hope to catch up to a genius like Yudai anyway. As Yudai walks home, he notices that Satoru isn't following him today. He seems almost disappointed, concluding that this must be the limit of Satoru's capabilities. During his run, Yudai's thoughts drift to his father, wondering if he'll be home soon. A look at his watch shows he's been running for over 24 minutes. Meanwhile, Satoru arrives at a stark, concrete wall under an overpass, a quiet and secluded spot. With a determined look, he takes out a piece of chalk or stone and begins to carve something into the wall. The camera pulls back to reveal the chilling message he has finished scrawling in crude, aggressive letters: "Kill Yudai Amaji." Satoru looks at his new mantra with a satisfied smile. He decides to practice his swings right there before he forgets Yudai's perfect form, resolving to sleep on the spot so he can see Yudai's pitches again soon. The scene shifts to Yudai's house, late at night. It's 12:17 a.m. A digital counter inside displays the number 1. The source of the counter is a high-tech training room. Yudai is inside, covered in sweat and steaming from the intense, late-night workout. He emerges from the training room, his body radiating heat, completely exhausted from the session his father forced upon him. His father, waiting with arms crossed, gives a simple command: cool down and get some rest. Yudai, battered and bruised, can only bow his head in obedience. But the respite is brief. As his father turns away, he adds one final order: morning practice starts at 5 a.m. Defeated, Yudai whispers, "Yes, sir," accepting his fate. The scene cuts back to Satoru's solitary training ground under the overpass. He practices his swing against the concrete wall, completely absorbed in his task. He meticulously mimics Yudai's batting form, providing his own commentary. "All right. That's it. Looking good," he tells himself, perfecting every muscle movement. His solo practice is interrupted by a drunk man stumbling home, muttering to himself. The man stops, noticing Satoru's strange behavior through the fence. The drunk man squints through the fence, trying to make sense of the scene. He watches Satoru's silent, repetitive swings and drunkenly asks, "What's that?" "That thing." Dropping his bag, the drunk man confronts Satoru. He slurs, "Hey, you chestnut-head brat. What do you think that was, ho? That wobbly-ass swing o' yours?" The drunk man finishes his can and boasts, lucky for you. The great me, I'm gonna give YA a special training session." He snatches the bat from Satoru's hands, demanding, "Gimme that." Satoru watches, bewildered. With a smug look, the man tells Satoru to watch really close, because he's about to witness a godly swing. But before he can even attempt his clumsy swing, Satoru delivers a swift, powerful punch directly to the man's gut. The drunk man immediately retches and vomits. Satoru looks down on him with utter contempt and says, "Don't show me that disgusting form ever again." With a cold, determined gaze, Satoru declares that his role model will only ever be one person, Yudai-kun. The greatest pitfall in swing practice is repeating it so many times that one ends up ingraining the wrong form. Whether he knew this or not, Satoru Soto was trying to avoid that. His goal was to replicate Yudai Amage's form down to the tiniest detail, without the slightest inconsistency. He copied everything perfectly, down to the gestures before stepping into the batter's box, slowly and deliberately aligning it with the image in his mind. If he was off by even a millimeter, he would start over. And he would start over again, a crazed look of determination in his eyes. The scene shifts. The next morning, an alarm blares at 5:13 a.m. in Yudai's house. His father's voice cuts through the noise, calling his name. Startled from a deep sleep, Yudai is violently jolted awake, tumbling out of his bed. As he scrambles, he apologizes and says he'll get ready right away. His father, standing with another boy, coldly replies, "If it's too hard, why don't you quit?" The words leave Yudai frozen in fear. His father continues, "You've got talent and skill. But remember this." His sharp gaze pierces through Yudai. As his father speaks, the scene flashes to Satoru's relentless practice. In this world, there are people who cough up blood and kick through mud, and think nothing of it. To them, that kind of effort is no different from breathing. After countless hours of grueling, non-stop repetition, Satoru finally executes a perfect swing, the culmination of his obsessive practice. "I did it!" he gasps. Bathed in the morning light, exhausted and drenched in sweat, he looks up with tears in his eyes. "Finally! I did it! Now I can stand toe-to-toe with that monster." The third part of the story, Third Death, comes to an end. The scene opens on the fourth death, titled Exceptional. Inside an arts and crafts room, students are quietly working, a stark contrast to the ominous title. A student, Satoru Soto cheers with excitement. The class has been instructed to make whatever they want with clay, and he seems thrilled with the assignment. However, Satoru's project is drawing attention. He's sculpting a bizarre, humanoid figure. A classmate points out that it's starting to look like someone named Yudai-kun, while another comments on how Satoru is making something weird again. A group of bullies, led by a boy named Fujiki-kun, approaches Satoru, calling him weird. One of them tries to de-escalate, but Fujiki angrily tells him to shut up, ignoring another friend's warning that Kyuuji told them not to get involved with Satoru. Enraged, Fujiki lunges forward with a sculpting tool, screaming that this is for Kyuuji. He viciously stabs the clay statue in the head. In the background, his friends laugh, with one callously remarking, "Yosuke, that's so mean." Satoru is left watching in shock. Fujiki holds up the broken piece of the sculpture, mockingly telling Satoru that it's poorly made and that he'll redo it for him. Satoru's hands tremble as he tightly grips his own sculpting tool, his knuckles turning white. In a shocking act of self-harm, Satoru suddenly stabs the back of his own hand with the pointed tool. Satoru's mind flashes with anger. His face contorts in rage as he thinks, "You're annoying," the word repeating over and over as images of his tormentors and the school playground fill his thoughts. The scene shifts to the principal's office, where a teacher informs the principal that Satoru is having trouble with a classmate again. The principal sighs, deciding he has to call Fujiki-kun's parents. The teacher explains that Satoru can't concentrate in any classes except PE and that he isn't fitting in with his classmates. The conversation darkens as they discuss how some people say Satoru's family is special. They worry something like what happened with Ikyoto-kun might happen again. The principal reveals they've tried to contact Satoru's parents multiple times, but they never respond. The scene cuts to Satoru's apartment, number 403. A woman, his mother, remarks that the school called again. She complains that Satoru is a troublesome child who got into another fight, as a strange, clay-like meal sits on the table. Smiling serenely, she speaks to an unseen person, likely Satoru's father, saying that Satoru must have inherited his brilliant genes and that she wishes he'd be more composed. She clasps her hands, as if in prayer, and suggests that the unseen person should also say something to Satoru, while the sterile, empty apartment gleams around her. Putting on a bright smile, she changes the subject, announcing that it's a feast and they should eat before it gets cold. The eerie scene concludes with her saying "let's eat" alone at the table, the food untouched, bathed in an unnatural, blinding light. Later, back in the now empty arts and crafts room, only 2 students remain after school lets out. A chubby classmate, Kinoshita, asks Satoru if he's staying behind too. Satoru, focused on his work, cheerfully replies that he's almost finished. Kinoshita peers at Satoru's work, asking what he's making. He spots a clay meat bun and what he thinks is the ankle of the statue of Yudai-kun, though he seems confused about who Yudai is. Satoru explains that Yudai-kun is the person he looks up to, someone who gives him feelings he's never experienced before. He admits he was shocked when Fujiki stabbed the statue, but reflects that maybe it wasn't unreasonable. Kinoshita, meanwhile, optimistically thinks they might get along surprisingly well. With the broken arm reattached, Satoru proudly presents the repaired statue, exclaiming, "I fixed it." Kinoshita, excited and happy for his new friend, asks to get a closer look. In response, Satoru menacingly raises his fist. Then, in a shocking twist, Satoru smashes his own repaired creation. His eyes are terrifyingly blank as he destroys the very thing he worked so hard to fix, leaving it in shattered pieces on the floor. Kinoshita stares in disbelief, his eyes wide with shock. Before him lies the shattered remains of the clay statue that Satoru had just proudly repaired. Satoru walks away, reflecting on his mother's words that had been ingrained in him since childhood. He was taught to be exceptional, yet with no memory of his father, the true meaning of the word remained a mystery to him. He stands before a wall, where the words "Kill Yudai" are ominously scrawled. With a chilling cheerfulness, Satoru declares, "All right. I'm gonna do my best today too." In his quest to become exceptional, Satoru instinctively clung to those who shined brighter than him. He admired, worshipped, and obsessively imitated them. But at the root of it all, his path, which always led to Yudai-kun, was one of destruction. A haunting smile spreads across Satoru's face. After all, he couldn't tolerate anyone being more exceptional than himself. The fourth death concludes with the image of the crushed statue, looking like a bloody mess. The story shifts to the fifth death, titled Unease. The focus turns to the object of Satoru's obsession, the prodigious baseball player Yudai Amaji, who is seen holding a championship trophy. In a flashback, Yudai is at bat, his face a mask of pure, focused intensity. The scene moves to Umari General Hospital, where a doctor greets Yudai. He congratulates him on winning the national championship for the second year in a row, but scolds him for his recklessness, having pitched a perfect game while injured. As his arm is bandaged, Yudai is reminded that the finals were an easy win and that no one his age can beat him. He quietly uses a grip strengthener, already thinking ahead. Yudai reflects on the victory. An easy win, oh. He recalls the championship game, where the opposing players stared at him as if he were some kind of monster. He remembers how they gave up in the middle of the game, their spirits broken. A voice, his father's, echoes in his mind, "Get even more fired up, Yudai." His father's voice continues, urging him to immerse himself so deeply in the game that he reaches ecstasy with every pitch. But Yudai is frustrated, feeling he can't get fired up in such a one-sided match. Back in the doctor's office, Dr. Umari mentions that his own son plays baseball but isn't improving much, and he asks the young prodigy, Yudai, if he could offer some advice. Ignoring the doctor's request, Yudai recalls his father's visit and asks a question of his own: "How much does your son practice per day?" Yudai's eyes flare with intensity as he remembers his father's chilling philosophy: treat baseball the same as breathing. If you don't do it, you'll die. He then stuns the doctor by asking how many pitches he can throw per day, completely ignoring the doctor's order for 2 weeks of rest. Seemingly accepting his fate, Yudai decides to focus on building his stamina for a while. As he stands in the hospital corridor, he notices a frail, sickly boy in a wheelchair being pushed by a nurse. The nurse calls the patient Koukou. Yudai feels a strange sense of recognition, a feeling that he's seen the frail boy somewhere before. Dismissing the feeling as just his imagination, Yudai leaves the hospital and immediately breaks into a run, beginning his stamina training. He pushes himself, running hard despite the fresh bandages on his arm, his determination overriding any sense of pain or caution. Suddenly, he stops. Up ahead, he sees a commotion and hears people shouting in alarm. The panic intensifies as bystanders yell for someone to call an ambulance. Yudai looks on, his expression shifting to one of confusion and concern. On the ground lies an unconscious boy in a baseball uniform, a bat resting near his motionless form. Yudai's eyes widen as he seems to recognize the person on the ground, a look of shock crossing his face. Yudai's eyes dart between the boy's still form, his blooded hand, and the bat lying nearby, trying to piece together what could have possibly caused this. Just as Yudai realizes the boy on the ground is Satoru, his own presence is noticed by the onlookers. A girl calls out his name in surprise, shifting the crowd's attention from the mysterious accident to the famous baseball prodigy who has just stumbled upon the scene. Satoru's eyes snap open, and with a burst of excitement, he points directly at Yudai, exclaiming, "I knew it! Yudai-kun is here!" Yudai, keeping his distance, asks if Satoru is okay. Satoru immediately springs to his feet, shouting back with unnerving cheerfulness, "Yeah. I'm totally fine." Satoru casually explains that he was so focused on his practice swings that he forgot to breathe and passed out. Yudai is completely baffled. As bystanders suggest getting Satoru to a hospital, he refuses, insisting he'd rather use the time to practice. With a wide, unsettling grin, Satoru declares his ultimate goal: to surpass Yudai. He announces that he has decided to enroll in the same middle school as his idol, leaving Yudai speechless. Satoru's challenge becomes more direct. He vows to become the ace and the clean-up hitter, even with Yudai on the team. He then stares at Yudai, asking if proving his superiority once Yudai's injury heals will be enough to show he has surpassed him. A distorted image captures the terrifying force of Satoru's practice swing, his face twisted into a mask of pure, manic joy. The sheer intensity radiating from Satoru is so powerful that it startles a flock of crows into flight. Yudai can only watch, wide-eyed and sweating, as he feels the pressure. In front of the stunned onlookers, Satoru takes a powerful, full-body swing with his bat, demonstrating the very practice that caused him to collapse. His eyes wild with excitement, Satoru looks directly at Yudai and makes his demand, "Let's have a serious match." Something shifts in Yudai. His eyes begin to glow with a dangerous light, and a predatory smirk forms on his lips. The challenge has been accepted. At that moment, though Yudai couldn't logically understand Satoru's words, he felt something he never had before, a genuine, primal intent to kill, directed straight at him. Yudai's rational mind screams at him not to get involved with this dangerous, unhinged boy. But as he unwraps the bandages from his injured arm, he decides against his better judgment, thinking, "Now's fine." Despite his injury, Yudai holds a baseball, ready to pitch. He looks at Satoru, who is trembling with anticipation, and says, "Get ready." Against all reason, Yudai's competitive instincts take over, craving a true fight. As he prepares to throw the first pitch, the fifth death comes to an end, marking the beginning of their fateful rivalry. The scene is set for the sixth death, one out. In a desolate, urban clearing, Yudai Amaji prepares to pitch, picking up his glove. Across from him, Satoru Soto stands ready with his bat. In the foreground, a group of spectators, including Hinano and Hana, watch with concerned expressions. Yudai clutches the ball tightly in his glove, his mind focused. He sets the terms of this duel in his head, just 3 pitches. Pulling his hood over his head, Yudai's eyes glint with sharp intensity. Rain begins to fall as he announces his challenge, "Here I come." Satoru faces him, a bead of sweat on his brow but a confident, almost crazed, grin on his face. Steam escapes his lips as he prepares for the pitch. Yudai begins his wind-up, kicking his leg high. Satoru stands poised, but held high, ready to swing at a moment's notice. Satoru's eyes widen in surprise as he witnesses Yudai's unconventional, powerful form. Yudai launches himself forward, a blur of motion as he prepares to release the ball. Yudai unleashes the pitch with tremendous force, a whirlwind of motion. Satoru remains tensed, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The first pitch is thrown. Satoru swings with all his might but misses completely. A clean strike. The spectators gasp in shock. At that moment, a cold sweat runs down Satoru's cheek as his bat slips from his grasp and clatters to the ground. Now, Satoru stood face to face with the greatest rival he would ever know, Yudai Amaji. The swing that was drilled into him by his father was the optimal batting form, refined day after day through relentless effort. His greatest rival was, in a way, himself. A version of himself perfected through sheer will and practice. After the first strike, Yudai calmly blows on his fingertips, unfazed. Satoru, however, looks back with a shocked and wild expression. The physics of the pitch are laid bare. The pitch speed was 135 km per hour. It took approximately 0.4 seconds for the ball to reach the mitt. A human's limit to react and move is 0.3 seconds. To hit a 135 km per hour pitch means entering a realm where prediction reigns supreme. However, the swing that Satoru sharpened relentlessly was for the sole purpose of hitting Yudai's pitch. It was a swing that was able to adjust to the trajectory. With a tremendous crack, Satoru's bat makes contact with the ball, sending a shockwave through the air. It's the second pitch, a foul. Satoru's backstory is revealed. Living under an overpass, he spent over 15 hours a day practicing his form, focusing solely on replicating Yudai's swing. That very obsession, so intense it made him forget to breathe and pass out, was now taking shape, about to bear fruit. Satoru Soto was certain, "I can do it." He whispers, "Mama." With the next pitch, his bat would reach its mark. His purpose was to be exceptional. And now, at last, that purpose is being fulfilled. He would defeat the peerless Prodigy whom all admire and praise, the monster, Yudai Amaji. Satoru screams with maddened determination, believing he will corner the Prodigy with his own hands. In contrast, Yudai calmly thinks to himself, I am the one driving him into a corner. A close-up on Yudai's face reveals a calm, knowing smile. He is in complete control, fully aware of the outcome. Or so he thought. A sudden twist undermines Satoru's conviction. Satoru looks on in absolute disbelief as the final pitch, which he completely missed, shatters the wall behind him. The third strike is out. As Yudai turns his back and begins to walk away, a defeated Satoru calls out to him. You were saying something about middle school, right? He asks, clinging to a thread of their conversation. Yudai glances back at the defeated Satoru, stating, I'm going to Rias Hinden Middle. As he walks away, he throws a challenge over his shoulder, if you're coming, then bring it on. Satoru can only stare in stunned silence. The scene flashes back. Yudai's father, Yuichiro Amaji, examines a medical report for his son that prescribes 2 weeks of complete rest. He tells a younger Yudai that he'll have to change his training to focus on building stamina, since perfecting his pitch before middle school is no longer an option. Yuichiro looks out at the grounds where the duel took place, lost in thought. He reflects with a sense of awe, I never imagined that I'd ever throw a pitch like that. In their living room, Yuichiro observes his son. You look happy, he notes. Did something happen? Even though you're injured. Yudai, blushing slightly, starts to deflect, saying it's nothing. The scene cuts harshly to Satoru, back under the dark overpass. He lets out a primal scream of frustration, yelling, damn it! Damn it, over and over. Back in the flashback, Yudai admits the source of his joy to his father. With a small, genuine smile, he says, I was just thinking about how I'm really looking forward to middle school. The narrative returns to Satoru in a state of utter despair, clawing at his face as the words damn it fill the space around him. His anguish marks the definitive and brutal end of the 6th death. A new chapter begins, titled 7th Death, Quick Sound. The scene shifts to an establishing shot of Rias Hinden Middle School, a place surrounded by many rumors. On the school grounds, the baseball team is put through grueling drills. A senior player shouts at the exhausted younger members, pick up the pace, second string. We meet first-year center Yamada, a boy with glasses, sweating and panting. He laments that it's been a week and all they've done is running drills. This isn't baseball, he thinks, despairing as he notes a third-year senpai who hasn't even touched a ball. Center Yamada's exhaustion gets the better of him. He stumbles and falls hard to the ground while his teammates continue running past him. An intimidating shadow falls over the collapsed center. A voice from above growls, hey! Who said you could rest? Center looks up in terror, recognizing the bully, Shido Senpai. The bully is introduced as second-year Eiji Shido. He glares down at Center with contempt, asking if he has a problem. He then orders his cronies to teach them the rules. With an imposing presence, Shido towers over a kneeling Center and declares the club's harsh creed, our baseball club is ruled by the supremacy of strength. Shido leans in, his face contorted with menace, and explains the core tenet of their world, all rights of the weak are entirely dependent on the strong. Just then, Yudai Amaji arrives, bag slung over his shoulder. He walks past the crying Center, pausing only to state coldly, that's how it is. Blame your own weakness. As Yudai begins to walk away from the scene, Shido, holding a bat, calls out to him aggressively. Hey, where the hell do you think you're going? Shido orders Yudai to get back, but Yudai stops and looks back with a defiant, cold gaze. He retorts, if we're following the rules you just stated, then I have no obligation to follow your orders, senpai. Center and Shido both react in shock. The other members of the baseball team look on, their faces a mask of wide-eyed shock and disbelief at Yudai's open act of insubordination. Center watches the tense standoff, thinking it's crazy. Shido, infuriated by the challenge to his authority, looms over Yudai. You think the rules don't apply to you, hey, he seethes. Shido decides to settle things on the field. He holds up a ball and tells Yudai, "Get in the batter's box. I gotta teach you what a master-servant relationship really means." As Shido walks towards the mound, he gives Yudai a final warning, pointing a finger at him. "You're done for if you lose." A wide shot shows the new battlefield. Yudai stands alone with his bat near home plate, while Shido prepares to pitch from the mound in the distance. Center Yamada watches from the sidelines, his face etched with worry. He knows Amaji is overwhelmingly strong, but can't help but feel this is too reckless. Somehow, this turned into something huge. He thinks. His anxiety deepens as he considers the stakes. Shido Senpai wears jersey number 20, even at a school like this, he muses. The unspoken hierarchy is clear. If Amaji-kun loses, won't all of us in the same grade be in serious trouble too? Shido recognizes his opponent, Yudai Amaji, the monster who hit 81 home runs in Little League. He sees this as a golden opportunity. Taking him down here and now. If that becomes an established fact, it'll be a useful asset to raise my rank. As he begins his powerful wind-up, Shido declares his intent to use Yudai as a stepping stone for his own ambition. Shido unleashes his pitch. The baseball hurtles towards the plate with a powerful spin. Yudai watches its approach, his expression calm and shockingly unbothered. Center Yamada screams from the sidelines, "SL. Slider?" Shido smirks, confident in his breaking ball as it curves sharply towards the batter. The narrator explains the immense risk. Yudai's right hand wasn't fully healed. He wasn't used to breaking balls, which were banned in Little League. Trying to hit a pitch with that much power could cause irreversible damage. A future Yudai would later explain his decision in that moment. Knowing the risk to his injured hand, he made a split-second adjustment. "That's why I hit it with one hand." The bat makes solid contact. The sound echoes across the field. Satoru Soto, Center Yamada, and even Shido himself watch in stunned silence as the ball soars through the air. Yudai is left holding only the handle, the rest of his bat having shattered on impact. He looks at the broken piece in his hand, then at the shocked faces of Shido and his teammates. With an air of complete nonchalance, Yudai drops the broken bat handle to the ground. He gestures dismissively towards the stunned Shido and declares, "Too easy." A narrator reflects on the brutal nature of the sport. While 99% of players end their careers, only 1% achieve brilliant results. The power struggle at Ryushinden is a war of survival, and the handful of strong players are called by a special name. Watching from the sidelines, Satoru Soto picks up the very ball that Yudai hit. A crazed, ecstatic grin spreads across his face as he clutches it. As expected of Yudai-kun. He breathes, his obsession fully ignited. That's how it should be. A day has passed since Yudai's match against Eiji Shido. The consequences are brutal, as the losers are forced into a series of grueling penalty runs, their suffering on full display. The club's twisted philosophy becomes clear: punishment is deemed necessary for the weak. Eiji Shido screams in agony, his jersey stripped from him as a mark of his failure. For Yudai Amaji, however, a different fate awaits: endless punishment in the form of relentless practice. In the wake of Eiji's downfall, Yudai Amaji has been called up to the first string to take his place. This marks the beginning of the eighth death, ominously titled Dera. The scene flashes back to Yudai's past with Ryo Ijima, a renowned catcher from his Little League days. Ijima praises Yudai's pitch, recognizing his incredible talent even back then. Ijima continues to encourage Yudai, telling him that his pitches have gotten stronger and sharper. He notes that Yudai's hard work has earned him a spot on the first string as a second year. For tomorrow's scrimmage against the regulars, Yudai is slated to be the starting pitcher. Filled with confidence, Ijima declares that next year, he'll be the starting catcher, and Yudai will be the ace. He proclaims the return of their golden battery, destined to take the national title. Caught up in the moment, Yudai looks towards the practice field and asks a hopeful question: if he pitches well tomorrow, does he have a real shot at becoming the team's ace? the hopeful atmosphere is shattered in an instant. A close-up on Yudai's face reveals pure shock and disbelief, his eyes wide with a sudden, horrifying realization. Ijima's tone shifts, becoming serious. He grabs Yudai's shoulder, telling him not to say such reckless things. Tomorrow's scrimmage isn't just a simple tune-up game for the regulars. He warns Yudai that this is not a place to simply fight for a starting spot. The reality of their baseball club is far harsher and more unforgiving than Yudai can possibly imagine. The narrative introduces another victim of the club's brutal system, Saiki Takeda, jersey number 18. He's the eldest of 7 siblings from a family that runs a tatami shop. A single, costly error sends him crashing to the ground. Takeda's motivation was simple and pure, to become a pro baseball player to repay his parents for their sacrifices. This single-minded determination fueled his relentless effort, earning him a spot on the first string. But on the third day, it all came crashing down. His dream was shattered by a minuscule mistake. His throw to first base was off by a single centimeter, an error that the club would not tolerate. Watching from a distance, another player wearing jersey number 3 wonders if the first baseman let Takeda's throw go on purpose, hinting at a deeper level of cruelty and sabotage within the team. The air fills with the merciless chant of error. Error! The players scream the word repeatedly, their faces contorted with a mixture of fury and fanaticism, amplifying the psychological torment of the one who failed. The relentless shouts of error echo across the field, surrounding Saiki Takeda as he stands alone, the target of the entire team's judgment. Amidst the cacophony, a senior player points a bat at Takeda and commands him to recite the rules of the club. The other players, including Senta Yamada and Yudai Amaji, watch the grim spectacle unfold. Broken and defeated, Takeda stands tall and screams the club's unforgiving creed, "Our baseball club is a meritocracy. An error is the symbol of a weakling." The judgment is passed. With tears of despair streaming down his face, Saiki Takeda's fate is sealed. He is officially demoted to the second string. The scene then shifts back to Yudai and his teammates, who are told that the opponents they'll face tomorrow are true monsters. Holding a catcher's mask with the number 11, a teammate reveals a crucial piece of information to Yudai. It was the regulars themselves who strongly requested that he start in the scrimmage. Ijima's expression turns grim as he gives Yudai one last piece of advice. He tells him to forget about becoming the ace for now, the only goal should be to make it through the upcoming game in one piece. Standing before the Ryoshinden dormitory, Ijima delivers his final, chilling warning, "That's the only way you can survive here." The scene then shifts to later that night, where under the glow of the full moon, a solitary figure sits by a vending machine, lost in thought. Elsewhere, first-year Kenta Yamada sits by the vending machines, writing a letter to his mother, trying to convince her he's doing fine. But his wide, fearful eyes tell a different story. As he sits, Yudai Amaji approaches. Kenta watches in awe, marveling at the insane stamina of the core players. Even from a distance, he can feel the powerful aura that separates them from the rest. To Kenta, Yudai is the personification of the elite. His very presence, his powerful physique standing amidst a field of flowers, seems otherworldly. Kenta nervously debates whether he should try talking to Yudai. He recalls that Yudai helped him during practice the other day, but quickly dismisses the idea, thinking a core player like him wouldn't even know who he is. Suddenly, another figure appears. It's Satoru Soto, a boy from Class C. He cheerfully congratulates Yudai on making the first string, calling him by his first name with unsettling familiarity, much to Kenta's surprise. Satoru continues, telling Yudai that he's cheering for him and that with his talent, there's no doubt he'll become the ace. Yudai is left speechless and bewildered by the strange encounter. Yudai asks Satoru if he came here just to surpass him. Satoru confirms it, but with a chilling smile, he adds that before that can happen, he needs to surpass Yudai first. The intensity of the moment is not lost on Kenta, who watches from his hiding spot. Satoru's smile widens into a deranged grin as he makes a shocking declaration, "I'm gonna make you the king of this team." Yudai, confused, asks what he means. Satoru, holding a bat, explains that in tomorrow's scrimmage, Yudai will become king, and he will be the one to make it happen. Kenta looks on, terrified by the conversation. Then comes the horrifying confession. With a deadpan expression, Satoru reveals his twisted logic: "That's why I made Ijima-senpai disappear." Yudai can only stare back, his mind reeling in utter shock. Satoru's words echo in Yudai's mind, a screaming, blaring alarm that drowns out all other thoughts. He can't make sense of it. The image of Ijima's abandoned, blood-stained catcher's mask becomes a warning of death. The eighth death, era, comes to a close. The day of the scrimmage arrives. The second-year players line up, but the team's regular catcher, Ijima, is nowhere to be seen. The players wonder what happened to him, noting that a new catcher, Toyoda, has taken his place. The new catcher, Tasuku Toyoda, introduces himself to Yudai. He suggests they go over the signs for their improvised battery, but Yudai coldly dismisses him, wanting to know what kind of pitches Toyoda can actually handle. Yudai's expression becomes demonic. He shoves the ball towards Toyoda, aggressively questioning if he's even capable of catching his pitch. Toyoda is taken aback by the intense hostility. With a look of grim determination, Yudai declares that he'll be going all out from the very beginning. This game holds immense importance for Yudai, and his intense focus is palpable as he looks out onto the field. It wasn't just because the opposing team was made up of regulars from his old middle school, a team he knew well. The immense pressure also came from the stands, where his father, the imposing Yuichiro Amaji, was watching his every move. The ninth death, battery, begins. As Yudai takes the mound, he gives a final, chilling warning to his new catcher: "Don't get cocky, first-year brat." The catcher is second-year Tasuku Toyoda, wearing jersey number 17. He's a renowned player, having been named to the best 9 twice during his Little League days. The coach grants Yudai 3 warm-up pitches. Yudai begins his wind-up, kicking up dirt as he prepares to unleash his first pitch. His eyes are filled with a terrifying intensity. He throws a devastating pitch. At the last moment, Toyoda realizes the ball is heading for the ground and will bounce. He instinctively drops to block it. Toyoda's split-second decision to drop to his knee should have been worthy of applause. However, Yudai Amaji's pitch defies expectations, rising sharply from its low trajectory. The ball smashes directly into Toyoda's mask with incredible force, throwing his head back. This is the renowned catcher Tasuku Toyoda, feared as the Iron Wall of Hammer. In his entire 3 years of Little League, he never once allowed a single passed ball. Yet, Yudai's first warm-up pitch completely overwhelmed him. In that moment, the famed Iron Wall of Hammer was nothing. In front of Yudai Amaji, he couldn't even be called a wall. The players are in disbelief. If the renowned Toyoda can't catch the pitch, and Ijima isn't here, then who possibly can? Meanwhile, Yudai fumes internally. He doesn't want to throw boring pitches, but with no one to catch for him, he's being forced to. As Toyoda stumbles back, dazed, a new figure unexpectedly steps onto the field, wearing a catcher's mask. Kenta Yamada watches in shock as the player with jersey number 20 moves towards the plate. It's Satoru Soto. He crouches behind the plate and eagerly calls out to Yudai, "Let me catch." The other players and the coach yell at Satoru, demanding to know what he's doing and ordering him to get back. But Satoru ignores them, addressing the coach directly. For Yudai, questions like "Why are you the one standing there?" no longer mattered. His mind was consumed by one terrifying thought: what did you do to Ijima-senpai? A chilling understanding passes between them. Yudai silently asks, "Can you catch my pitch?" Satoru, with a manic grin, replies without a word, "Of course." Yudai winds up for his second warm-up pitch, unleashing his full power once again. The ball rockets towards the plate, a blur of impossible speed aimed directly at Satoru. With a deafening crack, the ball slams into Satoru's mitt. Against all odds, he catches it cleanly. Satoru groans, his hand trembling from the sheer force of the impact, sweat beading on his face. The other players, including Toyoda, can only stare in stunned silence. They can't believe what they've just witnessed. Satoru fights through the pain, his hand shaking uncontrollably from the force of the catch. Panting, but with a look of pure, crazed triumph, Satoru presents the ball in his glove. "I caught it, Yudai-kun," he exclaims. The other players are speechless. Yudai looks at the boy who caught his impossible pitch and finally acknowledges him by his full name, Satoru Soto. With a confident smile, Satoru tells him to leave it to me. The decision made, Yudai walks away, giving a final command over his shoulder, "You're going to catch for me." In front of his father, in a battle he could not afford to lose, Yudai Amaji was going to become the ace. The coach, Yuji Tokoroka, realizes the die is cast and prepares for the Shikyuuji, the ceremonial first pitch. The umpire signals for the game to start. The partner Yudai chose for this pivotal moment was none other than Satoru Soto. With this, the 9th death, battery, comes to an end. And so begins the 10th death, overthrow. The scene is set for the Ryoshinden Middle School Baseball Club's annual intra-squad match. This match, held just before the summer tournament, pits the single-digit numbered regulars against the double-digit numbered benchwarmers. Every year, alumni and scouts come to watch what was once called a send-off match. But year after year, the result is the same: the benchwarmers end up coughing up blood, staining the ground red, and surrendering in disgrace. For that reason, this traditional event has earned a different name among the club members, the red and white match. The first batter for the regulars, wearing jersey number 6, steps up to the plate. He dismissively calls the preceding drama a long sideshow act. The batter is the formidable third-year shortstop, Jin Todo. He readies his bat, his gaze fixed on the new battery. To put things in perspective, the average pitching speed for a third-year middle schooler is 115 km per hour. But as a first year, Yudai's pitching speed already far exceeded that average, making him a monstrous opponent. But Todo connects. The ball rockets high into the sky, a massive foul that nearly leaves the park. Even he is surprised by the power of the pitch. The ball hangs in the air, seemingly mocking the benchwarmers, as if to say, "You're nothing but benchwarmers." Even Yudai, the one who threw the pitch, looks up at the splendid hit as it soars leisurely over the field, a testament to Todo's skill. As everyone on the benchwarmer team looks up at the sky, their heads hang low, a silent admission of the massive gap in power between them and the regulars. Only two people were not looking at the sky. Only Yudai Amaji and Satoru Soto were looking forward. Their gazes are locked, intense and focused. In this moment of collective awe and despair, they are the only two who are still in the fight, ready for what comes next. The umpire calls the fouls. Center Yamada watches nervously, wondering if even Yudai can handle this opponent. Another benchwarmer goes through a final check ritual, already convinced that it's impossible to beat the regulars. The despair is palpable. The tension on the field is immense. The benchwarmers watch, resigned to their fate, as Yudai prepares for the next pitch. But Yudai's eyes burn with a cold fire. He adjusts his cap, his focus absolute. "Let's do this," he thinks, ready to challenge Todo again. The spectators question Satoru's ability. Yudai throws a high inside pitch, clearly out of the strike zone. A normal catcher would expect a foul if the batter even swings. But suddenly, Satoru's mitt moves, not to where the pitch is going, but to where it will be. He is in perfect sync with the course of Yudai's pitch. Todo swings at the rising pitch, but it curves right into Satoru's perfectly positioned glove. Strike 2. Todo is stunned. The pitch is faster than before, maybe even 140 km per hour. Still, he tells himself it's not a problem. To strike out Jin Todo is to cause a storm. He has an exceptional ability to adjust and make contact, always hitting the ball within 3 pitches, even against a pitcher he's seeing for the first time. That supernatural contact skill is precisely what makes Todo the lead-off hitter for the powerhouse Ryoshinden Middle School. But the unthinkable happens. The third pitch blazes past him. The umpire yells, "Strike! Batter out!" The crowd, the players, Center Yamada, everyone is in absolute disbelief. Jin Todo, who has never struck out once in middle school, has just been struck out. A player who thought it was impossible is left speechless. Senta Yamada, once filled with despair, now sees a path forward. "We can do it," he whispers, a newfound hope ignited within him. The crowd buzzes with shock. Have you ever seen Todo-san strike out? Of course not. He's the leader for the U-15 national team. They can't comprehend what just happened. Has anything like this ever occurred before? As the players look on in stunned silence, the club's creed echoes with new meaning: our baseball club is a meritocracy. The unspoken rule hangs in the air, now a weapon for the usurpers. All rights of the weak are to be determined by the strong. Satoru looks directly at the coach, a terrifying, upside-down grin plastered on his face. "Isn't that right, coach?" he asks, challenging the very foundation of the team. The coach, Tokoroka, admits that up until now, there hadn't been any exceptions. The coach makes a declaration that changes everything. Whoever wins today will be the regulars. An unthinkable thing was about to happen. The overthrowing of the kings. The 10th death reaches its dramatic conclusion. At the Ryoshinden baseball field, scouts have gathered. One of them, Yuichiro, notes that this year's team is full of stars and they need to build relationships quickly. He's speaking to Kiburu Nakajima, a scout from the Tokyo Asahi Jaguars, who has a cigarette dangling from his lips. Kiburu Nakajima cynically wonders if the rumored kid pitching truly has what it takes to go pro. He figures holding the regulars to 5 runs in the first inning would be a decent, though not impressive, start. But the scoreboard tells a different story. 0 runs. The scouts are in disbelief. This chapter is titled, 11th Death, Masterpiece. The observers are stunned. Kiburu Nakajima can only stare, while Yuichiro exclaims his shock. A player with glasses looks on, wide-eyed, as someone explains that the pitcher managed a 3-up, 3-down against a lineup with 5 players from the U-15 Japan national team, their strongest in history. The thought hangs heavy in the air, a testament to the pitcher's shocking performance: "You've raised one hell of a monster." The crowd buzzes in disbelief. The pitcher struck out even the top batters, Shinomiya and Saijo. They call him a monster. Watching this unfold is Yamagi, the pitcher himself, sweat dripping down his face as he processes the feat he just accomplished. But the effort has taken its toll. Yamagi sits on the bench, completely exhausted after just a single inning. The mound was a place of immense hostility and tension, where every pitch had to be perfect. The pressure was wearing him down, both mentally and physically. A teammate comes over, placing a hand on the exhausted pitcher's helmet. "We thank you, Yamagi," he says, a simple gesture of gratitude. Yudai reflects on his journey. Every year, the red and white games for the backup squad were a silent, brutal battle, a reminder of the master-servant hierarchy. Now, in his 3rd and final year, he had already given up on his dream. But this time is different. Because of his incredible pitching, a new fire has been lit. A close-up on a jersey, number 16, symbolizes their new resolve. The time to overthrow the Kings has finally come. The backup squad is fired up. The first batter, 3rd-year shortstop Kenji Namaki with jersey number 16, declares they won't let Yudai's effort go to waste. He's followed by second baseman Kodai Yanagi and center fielder Yoshitaka Izumi, all determined to seize the momentum. Meanwhile, in the regulars' dugout, the mood is completely different. One player hopes the ball doesn't come his way, fearing he'll be the one to break the perfect game with an error. Another sighs that it's hard to get motivated when they're going to win anyway. Yamagi overhears their casual indifference from the bench. Sitting on the bench, his back to his teammates, Yamagi, wearing jersey number 20, is lost in thought. The simple act of being thanked holds a profound weight for him. "This is the first time someone thanked me for my pitching." In what appears to be a memory or a different game, Ryutaru Sasaki, the ace with jersey number 1, calls out to a teammate named Todo, telling him not to look so dejected just because he struck out. The 5th batter and pitcher, Ryutaru Sasaki, smiles brightly. He tells his dejected teammate that anyone can make mistakes and that it's not easy to regain trust, but they should work to make it right together. The game continues. The determined batter from the backup squad, Kenji Namaki, gets ready at the plate, aiming to seize the momentum with the very first pitch as the catcher signals for the game to start. On the mound, the regulars' ace pitcher, Ryutaro Sasaki, addresses his fielders. With unshakable confidence, he tells them he thinks it's going to be another slow day for them. Sasaki lowers his glove, revealing a sharp, mocking smirk. Sorry, he says, a chilling apology for the dominance he's about to unleash. He winds up and delivers a lightning-fast pitch. The batter swings and misses, the ball smacking into the catcher's mitt for a strike. From the dugout, Yudai Amaji watches the display of overwhelming power. Despite the first strike, the batter, Kenji Namaki, remains resolved, determined to seize the momentum. But Sasaki is relentless, winding up for another powerful pitch. Sasaki stands tall on the mound, a picture of calm and absolute control after releasing the pitch. The result is another strikeout. The umpire yells, "Strike! Batter out! Change!" The backup players in the dugout look on in utter shock and disbelief. The scouts, Kiburu and Yuichiro, are equally stunned by the ace's performance. From the dugout, Yudai Amaji analyzes Sasaki's pitching. He recognizes the sequence. It started with an inside high ball, just out of the strike zone. Yudai realizes with a jolt that every pitch Sasaki threw was a mirror of the sequence he himself had thrown in the top of the first. However, Sasaki's version was far beyond his own, recreated with overwhelming velocity and sharpness. This wasn't a fluke. Yudai thinks about the words of a legendary pitcher who once recorded 200 wins. There's a world of difference between aiming roughly and having the ball end up there by chance versus deliberately targeting that spot from the start. The level of control Sasaki has is on a completely different scale. Yudai Amaji continues his internal monologue, recalling the legendary pitcher's words, "If I could throw exactly where I aimed 100% of the time, I'd have 500 wins in the majors by now." The faces of the scouts and his teammates flash by, all stunned by the ace's flawless performance. The number 1 on the back of Ryutaro Sasaki's jersey seems to glow with an intimidating aura, a symbol of his absolute authority as the team's ace. He is hailed as the ultimate masterpiece, Ryutaro Sasaki, standing tall and looking down on the field with an air of complete superiority. After his display, Sasaki approaches the backup team's bench, specifically addressing Yudai Amaji and the catcher, Satoru Soto. With a condescending smile, he remarks, "That speech earlier really moved me." He then roars, his voice echoing across the field, proclaiming the team's harsh philosophy, "Our baseball club is a supremacy." Yudai and Satoru can only watch, stunned by his intensity. His eyes glow with a menacing light as he delivers his final, chilling statement, a declaration of his status and power within this ruthless system. "That's why I'm the ace." Instinctively, both Yudai Amaji and a sinister, smiling entity realize the same thing. Sasaki is this team's king, the one who must be taken down. With this grim understanding, the 11th death comes to an end. A new chapter begins, 12th death, delinquent. At the top of the second inning, the backup team takes the field, but the fighting spirit they had just moments ago is gone. One of them reminds Yudai that his pitching has brought them this moment, the chance to overtake the Kings. The team's resolve hardens. They rally together, declaring they won't let Yudai's effort be wasted. They will seize the momentum and won't give up a single run. One of the players pulls his cap down over his eyes, his voice filled with newfound determination as his teammates watch. "We're definitely going to win." But the person everyone unanimously names as the true threat is neither the ultimate masterpiece of Ryutaro Sasaki, nor the famously hard-to-strike-out Jin Todo. It is someone else entirely. He wears jersey number 2. He is the man who says, "The diamond is meant to be walked." The scout, Kiburu Nakajima, recalls the player's monstrous record. In just 7 months and 13 days of playing, he hit 61 home runs, breaking the national middle school record in the shortest time. He is a natural-born slugger. Kiburu murmurs Yudai's name, a feeling of familiarity washing over him. An aura of pure menace radiates from him as his name is revealed, the delinquent, Kogejo Tochi Sanada. From the dugout, a player with glasses trembles. Sanada's presence is so overwhelming that even at a distance, it's hard to breathe. A teammate looks on with pure fear, stating the obvious, he's incredibly scary. But on the mound, Yudai Amaji's eyes are sharp and focused. The umpire signals to play, and the confrontation is about to begin. At the plate, Kagetochi Sanada doesn't even take a proper batting stance. He simply stands there, exuding confidence. He doesn't need to. Yudai knows that baseball is a game of mind-reading, predicting the pitch, reading its course, and timing the swing. It's impossible to hit a pitch that comes in mere fractions of a second without it. But even so, Sanada defies logic. With extraordinary athleticism and abnormally sharp reflexes, he reacts to the ball and connects. Yudai watches, stunned, as Sanada's gifted physique allows him to send the ball flying into the stands. It's just a foul ball, but the entire stadium is in shock. The catcher, the scouts, and the players are all aghast that he could even make contact with such a pitch. Kagetochi Sanada is a hitter of the highest caliber, one who can simply hit whatever pitch comes his way, defying all conventional strategy. Yudai is shaken to his core. Sanada hit his powerful inside pitch so easily. He looks up at the sky, the confidence he had just moments ago beginning to crack. The story flashes back, revealing the dark roots of Sanada's monstrous talent. We see him from behind, swinging a bat. For him, the bat was never merely a piece of sports equipment. It was a tool for violence. The panel reveals the horrifying, blooded face of a man, hinting at the brutal trauma that forged the monster known as Sanada. Sanada's past was forged in violence. It started with his drug-addicted father when he was just 6. When he fought back with a bat, the man finally went quiet. In that moment, Sanada believed he had finally gotten through to someone. From then on, violence became his only way of communicating. Sanada was always alone. He beat friends, relatives, and even teachers half to death, ending up in juvenile detention without a shred of guilt. It was the only form of communication he knew. Alone, he would watch baseball, hearing players say they were throwing with all their heart. But for Sanada, who had faced death at the hands of others, a simple thought became a trigger: if I get hit, it's the same as dying. And the world of baseball, with its fast-flying hardballs, became the new source of that terror. And so, without realizing it, Yudai Amaji, by challenging him on the field, had invited a dangerous monster, one born from violence and fear, into the world of baseball. Back in the present, a player in the dugout cheers as Sanada loses his balance swinging at a low outside pitch from Yudai. A horrifying image of a bug trapped in the glare of a car's headlights flashes through someone's mind, a symbol of being frozen by an unstoppable force. But Sanada still manages to hit the ball for a foul, this time to right field. The dugout is confused. For Yudai Amaji on the mound, after that second pitch, a dreadful doubt turned into certainty. He realizes Sanada's terrifying strategy. This guy is hitting foul balls on purpose, systematically wearing down the pitcher. Yudai thinks to himself that even when he perfectly hits the corners of the strike zone, Sanada knocks the ball back with ease. Frustrated but resolute, Yudai makes a decision. If hitting the corners won't work, then he has only one option left: I'll overpower him with pure speed. But to Sanada, pitchers were nothing more than playmates, targets he was allowed to use violence on. As Yudai winds up, his teammate in the dugout watches with wide-eyed terror. What followed was nothing short of living hell for Yudai. Every time Sanada hit a foul that could have easily been a home run, the pitcher felt like he was narrowly escaping death over and over again. After how many pitches was it? The catcher Satoru Soto and his teammates watch as another ball flies into the distance. At some point, something in Yudai Amaji broke. He stopped following the ball's trajectory, his body hanging limp on the mound. And then, from out of nowhere, a chant began to ripple through the crowd, a single name repeated over and over: Sanada. The chant for Sanada grows, the word bubbles multiplying and overlapping, creating a cacophony of pressure aimed directly at the exhausted pitcher. The entire stadium is now chanting for Sanada. The faces in the dugout are filled with horror and disbelief. Even Ryutaru Sasaki, the ace, is on his knees, watching the psychological collapse. The scouts analyze the grim situation. Yuichiro comments that it was too soon for Amagi Jr. to face a monster like Sanada. He notes the speed gun reads 135 km per hour, calling it a pathetic pitch for a first year, let alone someone trying to challenge a fastball specialist. Yuichiro continues, stating that Amagi cares too much about those around him, a fatal flaw. With that mindset, he can't become a true Shikyuuji. The term catches Kiburu no Kojima's attention. With a grim certainty, Yuichiro declares, today, he will come to truly understand baseball for the first time. The relentless chants of Sanada wash over the field. For Yudai, the pressure is unbearable. His vision blurs, and the world seems to distort around him. In a stark, silent moment, the scene is set. Sanada waits at the plate, but held high. On the mound, Yudai stands alone with jersey number 20, facing his tormentor. The wide shot of the field is drowned out by the deafening roar of the crowd, a sea of voices shouting their support not for the pitcher, but for the batter. The faces of the catcher, the teammates in the dugout, and the scouts all share the same expression of wide-eyed horror and shock at the brutal spectacle unfolding before them. On the mound, Yudai Amagi is broken. Sweat and tears mix on his face, his eyes wide with a terror that goes beyond the game. The psychological torment is complete. The 12th death comes to an end. The first person to quickly notice pitcher Yudai Amagi's unusual behavior was none other than the catcher, Satoru Soto. For the first time in his life, Amagi was leaving bloody handprints on the mound, a grim sign of the physical toll the game was taking on him. Stepping up to the plate is the fearsome batter, Kajitochi Sanada. With a confident grit, he takes his stance, ready to face the pitcher. He is known by a chilling moniker, the 13th Death, Genius. From the mound, the pitcher Amagi, wearing jersey number 20, stares down his opponent. The stage was set for what would be remembered as the greatest battle in the history of Ryushinden Middle School. The intense face-off was about to begin. The tension is reflected in the wide, terrified eyes of the catcher, Satoru, contrasted sharply with the predatory, smiling eyes of the batter, Sanada. Sanada confidently provokes the pitcher with a simple challenge, "Come at me." In response, Amagi begins his powerful wind-up, unflinchingly accepting the challenge. Amagi unleashes his pitch. He stomps his foot down, whipping his arm forward and releasing the ball with an explosive motion that visibly startles even the arrogant Sanada. The ball hurtles towards the plate with terrifying speed, creating a vortex of energy. The entire stadium, including a young, blonde-haired player named Ryutaru Sasaki, watches in stunned silence as the ball smashes into the catcher's mitt. Sanada swings the bat with all his might, but the ball's velocity is simply too much. He misses completely as the ball is already secured in the catcher's glove. The sheer force of the pitch is overwhelming. The catcher, Satoru, grimaces in pain as the impact sends him staggering backward, falling to the ground but managing to hold onto the ball. The umpire makes the call, OUTTT. The players on the bench and in the crowd are in disbelief. Even the prodigious Ryutaru Sasaki is wide-eyed with shock at the raw power he just witnessed. Later, Sanada would reflect on that moment, admitting to himself that the pitch he had just faced was on another level. It was clearly not something you'd expect from a first-year student. He mused that even if a batter started swinging 3 days in advance, they still wouldn't hit that pitch. The scoreboard confirmed the unbelievable, a 150 km per hour fastball. A deafening roar fills the entire stadium as the spectators collectively react to the incredible feat of speed and power they have just seen. With one out, the previous batter walks off, still amazed by Amagi's pitch. Now, a new challenger steps up to the plate, the blonde-haired genius, Ryutaru Sasaki. Amagi's power comes from a deceptively relaxed form. This untrained naturalness allows for a smooth transfer of weight and a sharp, whip-like rotation of his hips. As he steps in, he clenches through immense pain, his arm motion like slamming the earth itself. In that moment, he forcibly awakens all 60 trillion of his cells. This technique allows him to generate explosive power from 0 to 100 in an instant, harnessing rapid muscle contraction. An unbelievable feat for a first-year middle schooler standing at 171 centimeters tall. He pitches again, and the ball blazes towards the plate. The speed gun clocks it at an even more astonishing 151 kilometers per hour, shocking Ryutaru Sasaki so much that he spits out his drink. In the heat of this high-stakes confrontation, spurred on by the presence of other geniuses on the field, Yu Daiamaji's pitch truly and frighteningly came to life. Watching from the side, a young player named Senta Yamada feels a sense of despair. He thinks of the geniuses of his age, Sanada, Sasaki, and Amaji, who overwhelms them all. The feeling is more than frustration, he feels he isn't even qualified to be a player. But Senta's internal monologue continues. He realizes that what he feels most is not the desire to surpass them, or even the wanting to stand on the same stage, but rather, an overwhelming joy. Tears stream down his face as he feels pure happiness at getting to witness a once-in-a-generation baseball genius on this very day. There are some things in sports that never change. When a true star appears on the field, every other player forgets the game for a moment and can't help but cheer for the display of pure talent. The next showdown begins as the genius pitcher, Yu Daiamaji, faces the genius batter, Ryutaru Sasaki. But even when pitted against another top-tier player on par with Kajitochi Sanada, Amaji's overwhelming speed shows no signs of wavering. Amaji unleashes his pitch. In response, Sasaki commits to a full swing, bringing his bat around in a powerful arc to meet the incoming ball. The clash between two of the generation's greatest talents finally happens. The umpire's call echoes, strike. Ryutaru Sasaki is struck out. The crowd, sensing a potential upset, begins to get excited, with everyone expecting the reigning kings to be overthrown. Sasaki looks back in disbelief at the catcher, Satoru Soto, who remains squatting amidst a cloud of dust kicked up by the sheer power of the pitch he just caught. The crowd erupts as the next batter steps up to the plate. A new challenge begins under the ominous chapter title, 14th Death, Rage. Filled with a newfound hope, the young spectator, Senta Yamada, clenches his fists, a bright look of conviction on his face as he cheers them on. They can do it, he thinks. Fueled by the rising excitement, the pitcher Yu Daiamaji unleashes another pitch, embodying the team's burning desire to win. But this time, the batter connects. The ball smacks against the bat with a powerful crack, sending a shockwave across the field. The ball soars high into the air. The players on the field, including pitcher Yu Daiamaji and catcher Satoru Soto, can only look up with wide, shocked eyes as it flies over their heads. A stunned silence falls over the players and the crowd. Amaji drops to his knees in despair as they watch the ball fly out of the park, its journey ending as it gets lodged in a distant tree. It's a home run. The opposing player rounds the bases as Amaji's team can only watch, defeated. They gave up the one run that they couldn't give up no matter what. Amaji hangs his head in shame while his teammates look on, devastated. They failed. The speed gun tells the whole story, flashing a speed of only 134 kilometers per hour, a massive drop from before. Everyone realizes something is wrong as Amaji walks dejectedly off the mound. His catcher, Satoru Soto, drops his glove and runs to him, pleading with him. You should switch out now, he insists. As Amaji walks past, Satoru kneels behind him, begging him to stop before that hand becomes completely useless. The horrific truth is revealed in a close-up of Amaji's pitching hand. It's grotesquely swollen, discolored, with veins bulging and blood dripping from the fingertips. The team looks on in horror. They realize his hand is completely broken, and that was the reason his last pitch lacked its usual terrifying power. The truth is revealed, Amaji intentionally held back on that final pitch. He did it for Satoru's sake, to protect his catcher from an uncontrolled throw from his shattered hand. No one could blame Yu Daiamaji for the choice he made. But, with their ace pitcher now broken, the game quickly started to become one-sided. Just like every other year, the momentum shifted entirely to the other team. Their batter gets a solid hit, and it seems like the game is already over. But the team hasn't given up. A player makes a spectacular diving catch, stopping the ball just before it hits the ground. The umpire yells, "Out!" It's a side change. Center Yamada looks on, relieved. Even the scouts are impressed, noting that the team's defense is solid. The fielder tells the pitcher not to worry about it. A teammate tries to console Amaji, telling him that he would have made the same choice. But the words don't reach Amaji, who unconsciously remains lost in his own world of failure. As he dwells on the home run, a different thought suddenly pops into Amaji's mind, the image of Satoru Soto's left hand, the hand he had acted to protect. One of the scouts, seeing Amaji's despair on the bench, remarks that he's human after all. The monstrous pitcher, now broken, sits alone, grappling with his injury and failure. A teammate watches on, re-evaluating everything he thought he knew. He had always seen Amaji as a ruthless genius, but his sacrifice revealed a surprising sensitivity, especially when it came to the person he chose to protect. That quiet moment is shattered when the opposing batter, Sanada, confronts Satoru directly. He asks why Amaji held back, before delivering a chilling, personal blow that stops Satoru cold. "Soto, you're the one replacing Ijima." The accusation sends Satoru into a spiral, forced to ask himself, is it my fault? Sanada continues his taunts, looking at the dejected Amaji. He mocks their bond, sarcastically noting that for a last-minute battery, their bond of trust is surprisingly strong, referencing how Amaji sacrificed his hand for Soto. Sanada's words, twisting Amaji's sacrifice into a weakness, push Satoru over the edge. His mind screams in a torrent of static and rage, "What a fucking joke!" Satoru's anger explodes. He crushes his catcher's mask in his hands, furious at Amaji for his self-destructive act of sacrifice. "You've done something really annoying, you Daikuan," he seethes. The scene flashes to Sanada's own twisted perspective, contrasting Amaji's sacrifice with his own past. He scoffs at the idea of holding back for teammates or comrades, questioning if that's the kind of baseball one should play. Through a distorted, upside-down view, Sanada dismisses the entire concept of teamwork and sacrifice with two simple words, "What a joke." Sanada holds up the bat he broke against one of Amaji's pitches, a testament to the pitcher's power. He looks down on Satoru, saying, "I thought you were better than that." He then issues a chilling command, "Watch me." In response, Satoru takes the pitcher's mound himself, replacing the injured Amaji. He stomps his foot onto the rubber, ready to face the challenge head-on. The chapter concludes as Sanada stares down Satoru with a menacing intensity. He points his bat forward, declaring war with a final, chilling promise, "This time, I'll teach you baseball."